Well, hi there, everybody over there in Facebook land. And I guess this is also going to my YouTube channel. I am so excited about this next guest. First of all, she is my first female person that I'm going to be interviewing. So I'm so pleased. We seem to have had a run of males, amazing males, I might add. Traci, gosh, what can I say about Traci? So many things. First of all, she is an amazingly talented person, but she also has the biggest heart. She welcomed me to Colorado when I had nowhere to go on Christmas Eve and opened her heart to me, and we had the best time. She's a former US cycling champion. She has then segued into being an incredibly well-known body language expert, and she's also very good at fraud. She's a fraud expert. So with no further ado, I'm going to bring Traci on and we're going to talk lots of amazing things. And also stay tuned because she has done something quite amazing in lockdown, and we'll share that a little bit later on. So let's bring her on. Traci, hey there. Can you hear me?
I can. How are you? It's good to see you.
That's really interesting. What is going on?
Uh-oh.
Let's see.
Can you hear me?
Let's see what's happening with my microphone.
I can hear you.
Definition camera. Collegiate camera. Oh no.
Uh-oh, we lost you.
Not working. FaceTime high definition. Can you hear me, Traci?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I can't hear you.
Oh no. Let's see.
Let's see what is wrong here.
Camera, audio.
I'm going to mute you. Now I'm going to unmute you. Say something to me.
Checking out. Check. It looks like
unmute
this shows my mic.
I can't even hear myself. This is very weird. Okay, I'm going to take my large screen off and see if that makes any difference. Let's see if that's making any difference. Can I hear myself? Nope. Oh, I heard something then. I can hear myself. Do you want to say something, Traci, and I'll see if I can hear you?
Check.
Yes. So something to do with my larger screen was playing. Oh, don't you love the little technology gremlins when they play tricks on you?
Oh, for sure. Yes.
Sorry about that. I had it connected to my larger, big screen behind here, and it was doing strange things. So let me just bring up my other little banner down there so that I can have us.
Oh, look at that. So fancy.
Oh, that's better. Welcome to the End Game of Winning. So you're over there in Colorado, and it's just after 7:30. I'm guessing it's like 7:36 over there right now.
5:30. Yeah, it really is 5:30 here.
But the time's really wrong. Oh yeah, of course it is. It's 7:36 over on the East Coast.
Oh yes, that is true.
Yeah. So let's start at the very beginning.
Okay.
Because I mentioned the end, how we got to meet. But let's start at the very beginning. So you became this US cycling champion, but
collegiate, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when did you first hop on a bike?
I did my first, I think, real ride. I was about 14.
And when you say your first real ride, though, but as a kid, did you get?
Oh yeah, we were riding all over everywhere all the time. But a ride where I had the cleats and I had the shorts and the whole thing. Yeah, I was about 14.
Wow. And what was it that motivated you to compete?
Um, you know what? I met a student teacher in eighth grade, and he was really my first coach and helped me out. And we would ride like on like a Wednesday after school, and we would also ride on Saturday mornings. And he told me I should race, and I was like, okay, I like to compete. That's great. Like I was an athlete anyway. I played basketball and volleyball and softball and everything, and so yeah, it just seemed like the regular kind of thing to do. However, it turns out it's not that normal for a 14-year-old girl, and I didn't even have most races I didn't even have a category for myself, and so I raced with the senior women. My very first race, and you'll get this, my very first race was the Cowtown Criterium in 1988, and Team Weight Watchers showed up, and 7-Eleven showed up, and a bunch of national teams showed up, and there was just one women's category, and I didn't know anything except that you couldn't wear a jersey from a team you weren't on. And I was like, oh, okay. And yeah, I was lapped twice in the first 7 laps. But it would seem a perfect opportunity to quit, but it was really fun. I just really liked it. So eventually I got to where I could keep up and even win. So yeah, it worked out.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, I was awful. I was horrible.
But something obviously inspired you to keep going. So what was that?
Oh yeah. Well, I love to ride. It was great. It was great, stress relief after school. I mean, you got freedom. And the thing that I liked about it, I think the most, is that I figured out hard work paid off. In team sports, I don't know that that's always the case. And it doesn't, and I don't want to sound, like it's like, here's what I like. No one could put me on the bench.
Yeah.
And I knew in teams, in basketball and volleyball, like I tried really hard and I was good. And I just didn't understand why a lot of times I didn't get the playing time that I knew that I deserved. And in cycling, no one could take that away. I mean,
it's entirely up to you.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, you get to higher levels, and then it turns out people can take that away. But because but you just don't go to the race at all. That's the difference. It's not about just playing a quarter or a few baskets or whatever. It's just a different deal.
So because this, a lot of this show is under the umbrella of what the inner game is, I'm curious to hear. So, you got lapped so many times in that first competition that you were in. So what's going on in your head, and what was it that actually caused you to go, well, I got thrashed, however, I still want to do this?
I don't have a good answer. I just thought it was awesome. I thought it was so cool. And I had watched the Tour de France on TV and the Giro d'Italia, and I watched Andy Hampsten and Greg LeMond, and it was just, the way they do it on, how it is in the States, it's different in Europe and probably in Australia. It's so romantic, and there's the music and there's the wine and cheese along the route. And I was just like, I saw it, and that's not the way it is. Like, it's totally not the way it is. But I was like, that's for me. I think I just thought it was great, and no one could. Like I said, I could go out for as long as I wanted on my bike and work hard and get the payoff, because I got better, as I went. Mm-hmm. And I think I just always knew I could do it, and I could do better than I was doing the first few races that I entered, because it was pretty horrible.
So then you get to college, and what happened there?
Well, before I got to college, I actually was invited to be on Team USA on the U.S. junior team. And I spent most of my senior year at high school, quite a bit of my senior year, up at the Olympic Training Center here in Colorado Springs. And I knew that I didn't want to go back to Dallas. And so I wanted to race collegiately, and I did really, really well in college here at the University of Colorado. And I still live in Boulder. So I was doing that, and I was racing local races, but also different pro tour races at the same time. And just doing everything that I could do. And it was really the primary focus of my life, for better or worse. So, some days it was better. Some days it was worse. Like, it's great when you win a race, and it's not good when you get hit by a car, but I just got up and kept going, because like not doing that for whatever reason was just not an option. Like, I never thought about quitting. And I know my parents wanted me to quit, when you get ran over here and there. And that was, it just didn't seem like an option to quit. It was like, I feel like I saw a path, to be the best in the world. Because in cycling, when you race, the Olympics aren't far away. They're not. It's not like basketball or like some different sports that maybe have deeper fields and they're more commonplace and things like that. Like, you want to go to the Olympics? I mean, there's politics involved, but you can go to the Olympic trials and you can give it your best shot. And I think I saw a path to that early, and I just thought it was cool and it was different. And I'm not one to follow the crowd, and all the petty stuff going on, around me at school and stuff. It just wasn't my thing. And I just put all my energy into bike racing.
It's interesting, because I know we had conversations when we finally met and had a really deep conversation. I went, wow, my dad was an Australian cycling champion.
Yeah.
He was a sprinter, but he was the type of man that talk about, the inner game of winning. He had this steel determination as well, because his mates used to tease him. I think I shared this story with you. And they'd say, oh, you're only up for a sprint. So he'd go out and win a road race just to prove them wrong.
Well, you know what I did the other day? And this was, now I'm 7 years old. I've been at this since I was 14 years old. And, I've done road, I've done track, I've done mountain bike. I've played around on a BMX track, but that's kind of been about it. And I went down to Houston, and my nephew is racing BMX. My brother has him racing. And there was a big race in town. And so, being my normal overconfident self, I said, oh, great, I want to do that. Do you think there's an old ladies category? And it turns out there was. And I had my brother's bike, but I didn't have a helmet or gloves. I didn't have racing leathers. I had nothing. And so I'm in jeans and a pullover top, and I go out to the race course with everybody. And I'm like, great, if I can find a helmet and some gloves out here to borrow, I'll do it. Right. And a part of me was hoping that I wouldn't be able to find that stuff. But we did, and I got up on the start gate, and off we went, and I ended up second in this big regional race. and these girls weren't that nice. Like, they, because I'm out there. I do not care. The only thing I don't want to do is crash. And I'm clear. I know what my limits are. I've been at my best. I know what it's like to be the top of the world. And a BMX regional race in Houston is not on that caliber at all. But they're giving me their resumes and all that, trying to make. And I'm like, look, I do not care how many times you've been to the Grands. Guess what? I went to the Grands with my brother when I was probably 13 years old, and which was before any of them started racing. And so,
they tried to psych you out beforehand.
I don't know what they were doing. I didn't care. I could not give two rips what they said. I was like, great, I'm just here to race. And you know what? I ended up second. So it was a lot of fun.
Tell me something. Have you ever ridden a BMX track before?
Oh yeah, when I was young, I did it. But I mountain bike now. It's not that big of a deal. It's there's just a few bumps in the way. Like the way they do the tracks now, it wasn't a big air thing. And they pretty much keep you on the ground. I knew I could take off from any jump that I wanted to. Wasn't sure about the landing. But but there weren't really any jumps. There are more obstacles you kind of go over. So I kept the rubber on the ground.
Hail to you. You're
It was fun.
Oh my, do you have it videoed, by the way?
I do. I have one video, and it was my last, because you have several rounds that you go, they call them motos. And it was the last one. And it was horrible. It was like I forgot to start. Like everybody like went, and I'm like trying to figure out the start gate because I had done it twice in my life, both that day. And anyway, I caught up and I got second.
I would love to see that. That amazing.
You would laugh because it's like I totally forgot to start. I was just struggling with the gate. It looks like I forgot to start. I was actually struggling. So
okay, so there will be people here that are thinking, what were you saying to yourself when you missed the start, and what was it that allowed you to kind of propel and come second? Come on, tell the truth.
Well, for one, I'm stronger than everybody there, right? I didn't necessarily have the skills of everybody there. So I knew I had a ton to fall back on. There's very few people that have as much in female that have as much riding as me. And they sure weren't going to show up at the BMX track. Like I knew that. And so I just didn't care. I did not give two rips, Catherine. I was like, I'm going to get out there and I'm just going to go as hard as I can go. And that's what I'm going to do. And yeah, it was fun.
I think that that's something that so many highly competitive people like yourself and myself forget to do. Really, because we put in, I'm thinking years ago when I was training as a professional dancer, we put in all these copious hours of training. And honestly, every audition that I really, really wanted badly, I never got. And all the ones that I went in and I went, because I always used to say to my students that I was training as well, I'd say every audition is a free class. Just go in and look at it as a free lesson because it's free. You don't have to pay for it. So go in and have fun. And every time I took that approach, guess what? I landed the gig because I was having fun.
Well, that's the thing. So when you want what you want, like I operate very well in a single-minded focus situation. And that's good and that's bad because when it's like a wet bar of soap in your hand. If you grab it too hard, it's going to slip out. And so learning how to moderate that, I think, has been one of my big life's lessons, to be be a person first and a cyclist second, or a person first and let's say a professional speaker second, or whatever. Like my friends that are Olympians, they all have, because I never went to the Olympics, but they all have a better balance of life than I was able to create for myself. And that's one thing I noticed real consistently. And I think I think that's why. I really do.
Yeah. So let's fast forward then from there. So we kind of jumped a whole lot there.
We jumped to the other day. Yes.
So you were doing your collegiate cycling.
Mm-hmm.
And I did listen to something where you were talking about what led you into becoming this amazing body language expert was that you knew when you were competing in some of your races that you weren't as strong as some of your competition, but you learned how to really notice their body language.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. I was rarely the strongest one. I mean, never. But for one, I tried harder than anyone else. And for two, I knew my competition better than they knew themselves. And I didn't even know I was doing this, but I just kind of kept track of everyone and what they would do and little ticks and little habits that they would have. And they were broadcasting what they were going to do. If I could respond to that, I figured that out, when I was on the more racing consistently with the pros and pros and Olympians and things, is that if I could respond to what they were going to do before they actually did it, then I had a chance. And I mean, it wasn't like this cute little thing. It was life and death. It was like, if I didn't do that, I was going to get left behind. Because one thing, and you know this about cycling, when you get left behind, doesn't nobody care. and you're out there in the wind, and guess what? You still got to make it 50 miles home. And so you better figure out how to stay with everyone because of all the drafting. You got what, 30%?
Yeah.
30% reduction. And so like getting dropped like again, like wasn't going to work for me. I've been dropped so many times that I can't even count, and I knew that like I had to fundamentally do things differently because just going out there on my own wasn't and just doing whatever I wanted to do wasn't going to work. I had to be more strategic because I couldn't rely on my strengths. I'm just not naturally that gifted. If you look at my numbers for all my physiological stats, there's no way I should have even been keeping up at all. Like numbers are not good. And like VO2 max and all those, like so low, so low, Catherine. And but that's how I got around it, without outsmarting my competition, outsmarting them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you use this to really, your strategy was to outsmart them in that area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had to. There was no choice. There was no other choice. It wasn't. It was a decision about do you want to even do this or not? Like, and it was fun for me. Like, it was totally fun to do that and play the game that really nobody else was playing, I don't think. So, but it got me pretty far. It got me really far, and it didn't matter if it was like an individual rider or the like knowing the course and knowing how a pack is going to behave on a course, or a pack of women behave on a course. It's going to be different than a pack of guys a lot of times. And that got me pretty far as well, is just being the smartest one out there, like being a student of the sport. Is I think key, like knowing everything I can about tactics and strategy and those kind of things is really what I dove into, and that's what propelled me.
I think that's an absolute gold nugget, because I think so often people get caught up in this kind of tunnel vision of excelling at their skill.
Mm-hmm.
They don't look at the bigger picture of the whole sport that they're involved in, or the whole performing art that they're involved in, and really understanding the bigger picture.
Well, it's true. And I'm really big on the history of the sport, history of cycling. And there's a surfing movie about that, where basically it's same kind of concept where the and I can't remember the name of it, and I'm sorry, but the master guy, he won't let his student have a new fancy board. Like, he had to have an old wooden board, and he had to perfect that, and then he could go to the new equipment, and all of a sudden he was magically amazing, right? Because he had the skills. And so I'm really kind of a purist like that. I'm really big on technique. I'm really big because I coach, not a whole lot recently, but I've coached a lot for years. And I think the way cycling has gone, and I think it's because of mountain biking. I really do, because mountain biking is a very individualistic sport, and people think they can switch back and forth between the two, and some can, but road racing is a team sport, and the technique that you need to do that is super specific to be efficient. And there's really one way to do that, and it's through paying attention to little bitty details so that you can get your power to the bike. Because a lot of people are super strong, they can't get their power to the bike, and then if they do get their power to the bike, they think they can power through everything, and you can't do that either. So those little bitty fine details are really what I focus on when I coach people, and so my riders have won like good big races, right? I don't coach as much anymore. It's just not, I don't know what I'm called to do from the universe. I think I have bigger things to accomplish, but I still like to do it, and I love that. I guess technique part of it, and the strategy, and reading your competition, and when you put that all together, it makes for a rider who's who's just able to pay attention differently, so that you end up using that information to win.
It's so interesting that you tell the story about the surf instructor needing him to use the old board and then the newer board, because when I did point, when I started my point, which I was very, very old, I was like 21.
Oh, wow.
Outrageously old, because I didn't do my first dance class till I was 13, and at 16, my first ballet class, and I was told I'd never make it, and rah, rah, rah. Anyway, we didn't have toe pads. We didn't have beautiful toe pads, and we didn't have all the different designs of point shoes for all the different styles of feet, especially flat feet like I had. So there are teachers that I have heard of, I think probably more so in Russia than here in Australia, but that do get their students to dance without their toe pads first, so that their feet really harden, and unfortunately they do bleed and they blister and they do all of that. But then by the time that they get used to being able to dance on point without their toe pads, then by the time that they put their toe pads in, it's like, oh, this is easy.
Yeah. And technology is great. It really is. And I don't want to say that it's not, but there's something to be said for developing all the skills, like when it's hard, so that when it's easy, you actually excel. And I think, I know it's true with tennis. Like some coaches, they make their players practice with those Stan Smith wooden rackets, and all that same concept, right? So if you have the skills, then you'll actually be able to use the new technology. And if not, you just end up sloppy and not developed how you maybe could be.
So I always ask everyone that I interview, did you use visualizing as one of your tools in your toolkit?
Oh yeah, for sure. And, I struggled with it. I knew I needed to do it, but I struggled with it for a long time. And, I didn't have a lot of good answers on that until I got into neurolinguistics and hypnosis. And, like every now and then before that time, before I really dove into the study that worked, I'd have some results with it, but mostly I was like, not like this is, I guess it's fine. Right. But, yeah, when I figured out how to do it and how to do it right and all the caveats of that, things really changed. Things really changed.
What I have found to be true, which is I think what you're referring to, Traci, is that most sports coaches are not trained in NLP, so they don't understand that they're all their different players or their people that they're coaching, are not all necessarily highly visual. So they're going to visualize differently based on their learning style, and they're going to need to tweak their visualizing skills to work with their preferred learning styles.
Yes. And yes. And I think there's more to it, because there came for me to be this point where, I'm at the Olympic Training Center and I'm asking questions that the sports psychologist there couldn't answer, and it's not about sports psychology. It's about, and I did get good results with sports psychology, like at the beginning, right? When you just focus on what you want, you start to understand your language and how you speak to yourself and how that creates pictures in your mind. But really diving in to further guide and direct my mind, so the thing of it is that it's not about sports. You think it's about sports. It's not about sports. Because all the junk that you haven't dealt with in your life, you haven't known how to deal with in your life, anger, sadness, fear, guilt, resentment, like all this stuff you hang on to, all that stuff gums up the works, and it will not let your body perform how it possibly can, right? So when you dive in and you get rid of that stuff, which it's not about managing it, it's about fundamentally having different thoughts so that you're not doing that old stuff anymore. The stuff that you don't even know that you're doing. That's the thing. That's attached to it. You have to be willing to look inside very deeply and understand how you see the world and how you handle things, and change that. I had a coach, and I didn't understand what he was saying to me when he said this, but he said, you can't pull up to the start line of a race and be kidding yourself about who you are and expect to win. And I didn't get that. I didn't, like, I heard it because I'm repeating it now, but I didn't get it. And it wasn't until I dove into NLP and actually had the experience in NLP, Hawaiian Huna, like mind body connection, right? It wasn't until I dove into that that I was able to make that work for me. And so I did. And again, I got to be a better person, not just a better bike racer, right? So there's kind of like two things there, right? It's like kind of different.
Exactly. Oh, I'm so glad you said that, because that's the exact work that I do. I dive in and I shine a torch on the things that people don't even realize on a conscious level are running the show.
Yeah, totally. And all that stuff, like, it is heavy. It is heavy as a weight. It will put weight on you, and cycling is important to be lightweight. But there comes a point you're like, well, I can't lose weight. Well, you got to dig into your emotions and figure out like what you may be protecting yourself from. That is having that.
Women, especially women, tend to put on protective coating.
Oh, totally. Right. Here's the thing: doesn't make you a bad person. It's just what's going on, right? And so, but it takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of confidence to really dive in. It's a lifestyle. It's not a momentary thing you do, and then you're like, oh, good, I'm done with that. Nope, not that. Not a thing. If you want to be, but see, here's the thing: it doesn't matter, Catherine, if it's in sports or if it's in business or whatever. Like that's your body going knock knock. It's your brain going, hey, it's time to deal with something, knock knock, right? And I like to think I'm better at that, and I have the tools to clear that stuff out. That was there, right? But there's always more, and giving yourself the gift of that knowledge, I think, has been probably the most valuable thing that I've done, because I know how to handle myself when emotions are coming up that are bothering me. But more than that is that I know when the emotions are coming up, because most of us don't know, right? Because we're waiting around in the muck and mire that is our mind, having the same thoughts every day, and talking to ourselves the same way every day, and not even realizing what's going on up there, right? And because we're just not taught how to do that. And some people maybe are better at realizing that than I was, right? And good for you. And the key is to understand how to guide and direct your mind so that you're actually not flowing down that neural pathway any longer, and you've created one that works for you. And I just think it's so comical when because I used to work a lot with people on sports performance, and it just got to be to where I think I could do bigger things with the tools. And what was I going to say about that is that I think it's so comical that, because I would talk to like soccer coaches, right? And I'd say, hey, do you need how are your kids doing? Oh, we should be winning. Well, great. You want to do some training with the kids? Oh, we don't have time for that. Well, okay. So you have time to run around and spend 20 hours a week or whatever you do with your kids. And you don't have time, like you're baking a cake. You don't have time to ice it. Like, really? Like this is what you do. And that's the mentality, because the power of the mental training that me and you are talking about is not mainstream. It is not barely understood about what's possible. And regular psychology does not address what me and you know is possible for human performance. I'm just going to draw a line in the sand. With all due respect to psychologists, sorry, anytime you have to try to think a thought, okay, so Catherine, let's try this. How
I love you.
If I'm going down a hill on my bike with 100 other women around me, I'm on a 4-lane road, taking a hard left onto a 1-lane road at 45 to 50 miles an hour, I do not have time to think about what not to think about.
Yeah.
You don't. It's the same with a gymnast. You don't have time to think about what not to think about when you're doing a backflip, right?
No, yeah.
or whatever it is. And I'm getting fired up about this because it pisses me off that this information, like I toiled for years, not knowing this, not figuring this out. And, finally at the end of my career, I did, right? And I feel like so much time is wasted because people don't want to be real with themselves. And so when an athlete decides that they want to actually make a run at being the best in the world, you cannot go without that. And you know what? If there's a few people who are genetic freaks who just do as well as they do in spite of themselves, right? Yes. Good for them. Yeah. Great. Right. But most of the people, it is not that way. And there's just way more capacity than what we think we have.
Look, I totally agree with everything you're saying. And I have been given this feedback. I have coached a particular person here who in Australia's teams, who is a former dual Olympian basketball player. And he has said to me, what you do, and he's had access to every top sports psychologist in the country, and he said what you do makes sports psychologists look like kindergarten.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And here's the thing. I have sports psychologist friends, and it's a good start. It really is.
Right. They do serve a purpose. Mm-hmm. However, the diving deep and doing the work that you and I are talking about is just it's a different planet.
Oh yeah, totally. It is. And I actually went almost like to a different planet to learn this because I studied with kahunas in Hawaii about, energy, like understanding that negative emotions are energy stuck in your body, right? And pain is energy stuck in your body. And how do you start to move that? And how do you, it can be a rough ride. Like it really can, like get into that stuff. But it's worth it. It's worth every second. Like for what it like the results. And it's not instant, it's not snap your fingers, but like when you're ready to change your life, like and increase your performance. Cause like, I'm not interested in like getting to like being kind of low and then getting to like midline. Like I'm like, let's start at midline and let's go up here. And that's what that allows you to do.
So tell me about, lots of people, did a lot of baking while they were in lockdown.
Yeah.
You did something entirely different because you segued from your collegiate cycling into becoming a professional speaker. Mm-hmm. And you've been very much known as the body language expert and the fraud expert. And then along comes this thing called COVID.
Yeah. Horrible.
And instead of baking, you decide to...
I developed a TV series because I am a body language. I am a body language expert. I help people learn how to spot lies, fraud, and identity theft, which is really a very close cousin to what I was doing on the bike, just watching closer than anybody else is watching, right? Different things I'm looking for now, but like I developed that eye, right? And people tell me these amazing stories about fraud and people who've stolen money. And I just thought, man, this is too good. Like, this is for TV. I just think it is. And so I developed a TV series called Truth, Lies, and Coverups. we filmed a pilot. And I mean, I worked with an Emmy nominated writer out of Hollywood. She's Emmy nominated for her work on Law and Order. She was an executive at HBO, and she's been a fantastic mentor. She's tough love all the way. And sometimes I have to emotionally prepare myself to call her. It's pretty tough. But anyway, yeah, we shot a pilot, and a 5-day shoot, and we're working on selling it in Hollywood right now. And people can find the sizzle reel, or like the trailer. You can find that on my website. It's bodylanguagetrainer.com. With any luck, we'll sell it. We'll be on your TV every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. and have a bunch of these. But I've hidden the tells of fraud, the tells of body language into the story that are accurate, and the story's real. I mean, we Hollywooded it a little bit, right, to make it a little more interesting. But yeah, it's amazing how much you don't see because you're not paying attention. And so it's really based on that. And yeah, truth, lies, and cover-ups. So keep your fingers crossed. It's a good one. It's a good one.
And your website has been scrolling along the bottom of the screen so that people can go there and have a little look. I had a look at the trailer and it looks amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. That's why it looks amazing, because it is. It's a great. I turned myself into a spy, and so I appear in the show because it's true crime, but it's scripted, and I appear in the show several times before I reveal myself as an extra, like Alfred Hitchcock would do. And so when you look back at it, you realize I've been watching these people for maybe years, and or as long as the story goes. And then we go back to my hideout and debrief, and it's quite a it was quite interesting to I learned so much putting it together. Because I had my hands in everything. There was not I hired the actors. I did all the scouting for locations. Like I said, I got my writer. Costumes, makeup. I didn't know makeup is different in every scene for actors. Had no idea, right? Learned all that. I borrowed houses. I rented cars. I talked to some friends into acting for free. And all the editing, man, editing is filming's one thing, but if you don't get the edits right, and I mean, it's like a half second here and there and what I came to realize is getting something that's magnetic, that people don't get bored with, is it's thousands of little tiny decisions, tiny decisions. And so I think we got it right. I do. I think we got it right.
Well, I've got fingers and toes crossed that it is going to become something on the screen, really.
Thank you.
All of the time. Now, you had a quote, because I always ask everybody, what is one of your favorite quotes that you feel that the audience would really enjoy? And I'm going to bring it up because this was one that you had said: excuses allow you only to deny the truth and destroy the opportunity. Mm-hmm. Where did this one come from for you?
Oh, that came from my coach, Wally, who, Wally was this big cowboy guy and not the kind of guy you'd expect to be a cycling coach. He was up here at the University of Colorado. He's the kind of guy that would take us out, run us through the hardest workout you could possibly stand, put you in the car, take you home, cook you a hand-cut thick bacon sandwich. That was the kind of guy Wally was. And this is what he told me. He's like, excuses are the tools that allow you to deny the truth and destroy opportunity. And he's right, and what that means is take responsibility is what it means. Yeah. Like if things go good, take responsibility. If things go bad, you got to ask yourself how, and some stuff seems like an accident, right? But if you start to act like you're the cause of that, behavior changes, results change. What can I learn from this? And so that I've it's been years ago he told me that, and I'm looking for it. You can see me looking because I had it pinned up on my wall, and all he did was print it out big on a piece of computer paper, but I had it for years. I don't know where it went, but yeah, that's the Wally-ism.
Well, Wally's so spot on, because, unless we take responsibility for our actions, nobody else is going to. We can blame everyone else for not doing something, not for us not achieving our goals, but it's ultimately up to us, isn't it?
Oh, well, that's the thing. Yeah. And blame drives me crazy. And I have someone close to me in my life who likes to blame. And it just I'm over it. I'm like, you know what? No, like this has to stop because it's not working. It's not effective for anybody. And you know what? Just say let's change. Like
Yeah.
that's okay. Right. And the problem is, we beat ourselves up for one thing or another. And we're hard on ourselves and hold stuff against ourselves and all this stuff, and like learning to let all that stuff go and just be like, you know what, we're all trying. We're all doing the best we can do. And nobody is perfect. And, if you know better, you do better. So just do better next time. Right. And quit.
Learn from the experience. If you stuffed up, if you failed, if you didn't achieve whatever that huge, big, bodacious goal was that you had your heart set on, what did you learn from it? I was talking to my housemate yesterday, or actually not my housemate, a dear friend of mine. Is, her husband is feeling a little bit scared about opening this business because the previous business he'd lost a whole lot of money in. And I'm going, here's the thing, and I say, I demonstrate this on stage. Actually, I get a chair and I say, okay, something happened in your past. It caused a whole lot of pain. But if you don't learn the lesson, you tend to drag that pain with you. And I drag the chair across into my and sit in the chair, and here I am in my current reality, bringing all that pain with me. What am I going to keep doing? Creating more of the same. Whereas go back and learn the lesson and cut the cord of the emotional pain, and then go, okay, what did I learn from that? And what can I do differently today? Because otherwise it's just, what is it? What's that wonderful saying? Robert Kiyosaki taught me this one: complete or repeat.
Oh, it's true. It's totally true. And, that's the thing is I've made a million mistakes in my business, like every single mistake you can make in my business, and I'm thankful for all of it because now I know it works. Like I know a lot of stuff that doesn't work for sure. Right. And so, yeah, and so that's, that's experience. That's it comes with experience and age and learning and deciding to do something different. And so, you gotta take all that and distill it a little bit, right? It doesn't, just because you failed at one thing doesn't mean you're going to fail at everything. But it also means you got to fundamentally start to make some different decisions, or you will repeat the past, right? And it doesn't matter, like that's for everything. Doesn't matter if you're on a bike or at work or starting a business, or I rolled the dice huge on my TV show, but I thought, you know what, everything that I've done, even if when I've rolled the dice, which has been a couple times, like big with a lot of money, is that it sets, if it doesn't work, it sets me up nicely for the next thing, whatever that is. And so that's kind of the tack I took on it. And plus, I was going to be able to use it in my keynotes at a bare minimum.
Yeah.
And it kept me from, and it kept me from going crazy during lockdown because I was really low. I mean, I was talking to my husband. I'm like, I don't know if I'm ever going to work again. Like, I don't know what's going to happen here, and I'm like looking at like when you look at it, you're like, man, not even being a barista at Starbucks is workable right now. Like that's, that's just crazy, but things are coming back. Things are coming back for everyone. And I knew that I wanted to be better positioned coming out of the pandemic than going in. And I also knew that there would be a huge opportunity for me somewhere, but I didn't know. I had to keep my eyes open to see it. And I knew that for sure, because that's what happened in the last recession, in the 2008 recession, is that, I huge opportunities came because of that. So I wasn't like, with the pandemic, I wasn't like, yay, it's a pandemic, right? Because who would be? But I knew there was going to be something. And like when it happened, I was like, there's something here. And that was my thought process, like, be better positioned coming out of this, be better positioned. And sure enough, like I have a whole TV pilot. Like who would have thought like a year ago that that I'd be like talking to Hollywood people and they're like, yeah, there's something here, so I think it's important to always like when, whether you work for yourself or work for somebody else, like, what's the opportunity? What's the opportunity? Yeah. And you got to keep asking yourself that, and then, to have the confidence to do something about it. That's a whole other thing, right? But that goes back to everything we were talking about before. So
in closing, I always ask this question as well. If you had the chance to sit down next to your 14-year-old self, what would you say to her?
I'll tell you what I would say. I always thought real success was for other people. And it sounds funny, right? But that, because, you look in certain people are on TV, or your sports, heroes are on TV or in the newspaper or whatever. And I was like, oh, that's for like that. Like, I'm not there, I don't know how to explain it, but I always thought success was for other people, like true, real, big success. And so I would clear that up right away, because I think I would have been a lot more successful, both in cycling and just in life, a lot earlier. But you figure out what you figure out when you get it. So, so I mean, like, now I'm like, someone has to succeed. Why not me? Why not? I don't think why not,
Yes. Traci, this has been a blast. An absolute. I have loved this, and I could talk to you forever. Maybe we can do it another time as well, because you know what I'd love to do, and I think I have the capacity to do this as well. Is it'd be great to bring, if he's willing to, he's probably going to absolutely, what do you call it, wrap me across the knuckles. I'd love to bring Alex and you on and talk about, the ride that he runs, because that I'm sure that would take a fair bit of, having control of your inner mind as well to actually complete that race. Would I be correct in assuming that?
Oh, yeah. So Alex, my friend Alex Hearn, he was going to watch tonight. I don't know if he is.
Well, I know he said he liked the video, so hoping that he's.
Oh, good. Yeah. He is my brother from another mother, and he runs a ride through his company, Biker Pelly Sports, where they go from Fruta to Moab. He takes 90 people on a supported camping trip for 3 or 4 days of riding hard terrain, long days, mountain biking, from, like I said, from Fruta, Utah to Moab. No, wait, Fruta, Colorado to Moab, Utah. And yeah, he's got that thing dialed in, and we're just a lot of fun together and giving each other a hard time about one thing or another. So
both on the show sometime. If we can both work on him to come on the show.
Oh, it won't be hard. He'll be fine.
Cool. And this has been awesome, and I can't wait to give you a real hug, but here's one, a virtual.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're amazing. And please check out her website. Go have a look at YouTube and the amazing what do you call it, the first one, the pilot.
Sizzle reel. Yeah, check out my sizzle reel. It's on my YouTube channel. Just look up Traci Brown Body Language. It'll come right up.
And also, if you're looking for a body language expert and speaker, whether it's virtual or in person, she's your person.
Yep, so, call me.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you too.
End the broadcast.